I don't want it on the surface. That's irrelevant. So I'm going to decrease blood flow to my skin to put it where I want it. Therefore, parasympathetic would do what to blood flow to my skin? Dilate or normal or more. I'm just using arrows.
What about embarrassment? Yeah.
Believe it or not, that's sympathetic response. When you blush, you're sympathetic. You're sort of getting fearful, but actually the wiring is this one. You have to use parasympathetic, even though it sounds like it's stress. It's a parasympathetic innervation to make you blush. But the white as a ghost, that's a sympathetic response to skin.
Oh, I just misunderstood. So blushing embarrasses parasympathetic?
To get the wires to open, yeah, to get the vessels to open.
Okay, so you're having a parasympathetic response in what is largely sort of sympathetic.
Yes. You think you're feared, but you're not fearful.
Because they did say that embarrassment, like emotional.
Embarrassment. But this is more like fear embarrassment rather than just blush.
Okay.
Right? Let's do skeletal muscles. What would happen to your skeletal muscle blood flow sympathetically? Yes, because on fight or flight, I better run or kill. I need muscles to do that. Blood flow increases. Parasympathetic should decrease, less, normal, reduce, pick a word. Lungs. What should blood do to my lungs? I hope it goes up. And why do you want blood flow to lungs? Oxygen, aerobic respiration. How about parasympathetic when you're snoring on the couch? Should go down. All right, digestive organ blood flow. Down. If you're getting killed, the cheeseburger can wait, right? It's irrelevant if I don't live through today. So you're going to reduce blood flow to digestive organs, but you're going to send the blood here. So how about rest and digest? Increase, more, normal, whatever. Kidney blood flow. Decrease. If you're getting attacked, you can wait to pee. Therefore, parasympathetic is more, greater, increase. So brain blood flow, which isn't in your book. Increase sympathetic, because you got to think your way out of the fight, right? Hopefully on your test. And then parasympathetic is less, normal, reduced, whatever you want over there. Okay, heart. Tell me what a heart does sympathetically. Yeah, so increase contractions, contractility is what a PNT would say, increase force. So next time you're scared, your heart's beating faster, it's thumping harder, right? That's that. We're beating more blood. Parasympathetic should decrease, normal, reduced, right? Now you know white coat syndrome. You go to the doctor, everything about your body's screwed up. Because you get scared, your body turns on the sympathetic, and now your heart rate's high and your blood pressure's high. Right? You go home, you're fine. Right, let's do lungs. What should lungs do, airway, sympathetically? Open, dilate. You can put up arrow, increase, right? Need more air. And sympathetically, parasympathetically, it should go down, normal, reduced, whatever. Digestive activity, sympathetic should go away. Because, again, the cheeseburger can wait. And in rest and digest mode, it should. Very good. Digestive glands, sympathetic. Go down. Why do you need glands if you're not eating, right? And rest and digest should go up. Let's do your liver. Increased activity. Because you're going to increase glycogen digestion. Now, if you remember biology 112, glycogen is what? Glucose storage. So I need to get my sugar out of my liver if I want to kill you and run. I need sugar. So my liver has to metabolize more. Let's get more active. Therefore, in parasympathetic, it would what? Less active, reduce glycogenolysis, whatever you want to call it. So now, let's do some skeletal muscles. Sympathetic, they should increase contraction. You ever wonder why you can lift the weight more? That's why. And then parasympathetic should be less force, decreased contraction, reduced contractility, whatever you want to call it. So far, so good? Okay, let's do adipose tissue.
Increase. Release the fat.
Break down fat. So you reduce adipose tissue to increase energy release. Wow, you mean I have to do something to burn fat? How about that? So now, parasympathetically, what does adipose do?
Provide energy.
Provide energy, but I store it. So I increase fat to store the energy. So when I'm scared, I'm going to burn my fat because I may not be alive tomorrow. When I'm resting and digesting, I'm putting fat on. I do that every day. Right? So I'm going to store it for next time. So far, so good? Let's go up to kidneys and stuff. I'll erase these. Kidney function. What do your kidneys do sympathetically? They turn off. They reduce. Because again, peeing doesn't matter if you're dead. So why bother making urine? Why clean my blood? Kidney function should increase or be normal when I'm resting and digesting. That leads us to the bladder. What does your bladder do sympathetically? Decrease or constrict or tighten. You know this. Try peeing when someone's watching you.
It's not that hard.
Well, okay. It is for me. So, did I share that? All right, cool. All right. So, parasympathetic, what should your bladder do? Relax, expand, release. All right? Because I'm resting and digesting, I might as well pee my pants. All right. Now comes the harder one here. Reproductive organs. What happens sympathetically? No.
Increase.
Go. Sort of. Okay, let's write the big words here. For both systems, believe it or not, orgasm is a sympathetic response. Now let's think through that, not too personally. Okay? So, when you're getting aroused, your heart rate does what? Increase. Your breathing does what? Go up. So notice what I'm doing. I'm picking things from the left-hand column. My muscles get more blood flow. My pupils dilate. So even though you could argue that's not fear, to your hypothalamus, it's the same set of circumstances. So I'm going to do fight or flight response to have an orgasm reproductively. All right? However, let's go over here. So what happens parasympathetically? You're all scared to say now, aren't you? All right. Believe it or not, that's arousal. Now let's think through that. They call this the wine and candles effect. You have to be relaxed to get turned on. If you get sexually aroused during your final, talk to me after class. Okay? But once I'm aroused, my body then shifts the metabolism this way. So in this system, you have to start with the parasympathetic response. You have to get relaxed to begin getting aroused. But once you are aroused, your body will shift you to the sympathetic response. But if you try being sympathetic, you won't get anywhere. Because you have to start here and go here. So the few systems where there's an order to the process. Right? That's the logic behind it. So yes, sympathetic will decrease reproduction if you're not aroused. It will increase reproduction once you are aroused. Make sense? But they're mostly opposite systems. Questions on sympathetic and parasympathetic innervation. So if you know one, you know the other. Thou shalt know that table, thou shalt. Besides everything else. Questions on those? Memorize it. Or at least be able to use it. So I got one more quick little thing to show you, just to add one more piece of information. See if I can find it here. Hold on.
I'm sure everything on the board.
Know everything on the board. Yeah. But if in doubt. All right, so we're just going to do one quick little, just more information than it is important in some way. But some of you asked me about this in lab, and there's also a case study we didn't do that talks about it. We're going to take a quick 2-minute tour through the concept of split brain. Let me go through and tell you this magic. You can tell this a little old, right?
GCC began essentially with Roger Sperry's work on the split brain.
One puzzling aspect of the study is the fact that all our activities are controlled not by one brain, but by two interconnected half brains.
Roger Sperry here at Caltech did a lot of experiments where we can show that each hemisphere processes information separately.
Working with him on a series of unique experiments is Dr. Michael Gazzaniga.
The brain is, of course, an enormously complex structure. In fact, it's kind of redundantly complex. We have two cerebral hemispheres.
The brain is organized in two hemispheres, two halves, separated down the middle. And for most of us, there's a pretty classic organization of what parts of the brain handle what types of functions.
The left hemisphere takes on functions of sequential analysis, spatial analysis, language.
Let's figure that out. So sometimes you'll hear people say left brain is your mathy brain, right? I'm worried about that language. Why in the world would language be the math stuff?
Because that's your Broca's.
Yeah, but why would brocas need to be on the left? What do these words have to do with language? Patterns. If you think about it, dog bites man, man bites dog are very different things. To understand the difference, you have to understand the sequence of the word, just like a math problem. Noun, verb, object. So to learn a language, you have to understand the patterns the words have to do. So it takes math, quote, to do that. So language tends to be where your spatial sequential stuff is. Speaking biology is a language, right? That kind of logic. So your left side tends to be the language and sequence side in general.
The right hemisphere is really the seat of more emotional aspects, happiness and sadness and disgust. If the corpus callosum is cut, is severed, then what results is a very interesting disconnect between the functions of the two hemispheres.
Let's figure out what that corpus callosum. You had that in lab. What was the corpus callosum?
The fibers.
Is that big white thing, right? The big arch. That was a commissure. Enabled the right and left brain to talk across each other. So in this experiment, they cut your corpus callosum. So they split your brain in half. So you can no longer have the right and left talk to each other. So what would happen to you if your right brain and left brain were separate? Let's find out.
And when you do that in adulthood surgically to treat epilepsy, there are two very interesting findings. The first interesting finding is that if you just do this to someone and then you talk to them, they seem to function fairly normally. But when you do certain tasks with them, certain experiments in the lab, then they're very abnormal. If you set it up such that information just goes to one side of the brain, so for instance, if I were manipulating this paper clip, something easily identifiable, with my left hand, the idea is that the information goes to the right hemisphere of my...
Right, that's the decussation, right? He's grabbing with his left hand, he's blindfolded. So his right brain gets the message of paperclip, feeling paperclip. Watch this part.
That's responsible for representing the touch information about that object, and then it crosses over to the left hemisphere so that I can tell you about it. So if you...
So that's Wernicke's and Broca's, right? I have to say the word paperclip. It's on the left side. So now, let's cut your brain in half.
section that, I can no longer tell you about it. My right hemisphere knows what this is. My left hemisphere does not. And the left hemisphere has speech in it, and therefore I'm unable to say what it is.
So if your brain is developed normally, with the corpus callosum in place, and then we cut the corpus callosum, then it's organized so that these areas handle certain things, and now they can't communicate with each other.
That's basically the logic. So if I split your brain, your right and left brains don't know what's going on. So hence, you can feel it, but there's never a word to say what it is until I switch hands and make it go into the left brain where the word would be. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's only in the lab, because in the real world, why would that never really happen?
Because you could look at it.
You can look at it with both eyes, I can feel it with both hands, so my left brain would eventually get the message of ball or paperclip and get the word. But you can force the right brain and left brain to stay separate, and therefore you would not know the word of what you're feeling, even though you felt it a million times. You switch hands, immediately the word comes in your brain. Agree about time now? Okay. So I just want to show you that the corpus callosum's job is to connect the right and left. So hopefully you're using both halves of your brain to do class. That way you have the language and everything else. Make sense? Okay. Go have fun. See you next week. Study well.